Yo, what's good, YouTube? You know what it is. D Casanova, aka Casanova Blue up on here. And, today my topic is going to be real deep. Normally, I get deep about pimping at home too, but this is something a little more deeper than that. I was sitting there watching MSNBC today, and it was some politician, I would say Ron Paul or something like that, white guy. And he's maybe running for president this year, so forth, coming up, next presidency. He may be running for president and everything and everything. And he made a comment about slavery, about how he feels like a slave, how people's treating him like a slave, and so forth and so forth. Another commentator on MSNBC, he went in about it, like, how can he say that? Slaves was paid nothing, so forth and so forth. Anyways, this got me into kind of contemplating and go over in my head about slavery and, black people and African American people, as I do a lot. I go over things about my race, about things that's basically affecting my life, really. Anyways, I got to thinking, like, when you go into a chat room or so forth, and there be, racist, ignorant white person in there, and they say, oh, y'all black people, y'all need to get over slavery, stop using slavery as a hump, stop blaming slavery for y'all problems. And to an extent, I agree, to the point of I don't feel we should use it as a crutch for a reason why we do bad or why we can't go to school or why, I gangbang because of slavery. Nah, I believe that point. No, you do it because you choose to do it, Slavery don't necessarily have anything to do with that. But the part when they go into get over it, or, go back to Africa, and they start talking all that ignorant shit, that's when, all courtesy basically goes out the window. Like, fuck what you talking. Anyways, I did a little math here, right? And I came to a conclusion that my great-grandmother was a slave. And, of course, all African American, we, came from slaves, our descendants were slaves, all of us had descendants were slaves. But I didn't realize it hit so close to home, per se, because I never really took the in-depth thought of it, that maybe my great-grandmother was a slave. I thought maybe, if anything, great-great. I didn't think it was that close. I knew my great-grandmother. I was young, per se. I was out of diapers, but I was still crawling on the floor, with a chicken wing in my mouth kind of thing, I was young, but I knew my great-grandmother, I remember when she died, I went to her funeral. I knew my great-grandmother, I knew my grandmother, I knew my mother. And this is the math base I came up with, and this kind of opened my mind up to it. Alright, let's say the average person lives about 60 years, right? Females, according to the study, live longer than men, but let's round it off at 60 years, right? So, my mother lived 60 years and died. My grandmother lived 60 years and died. My great-grandmother lived 60 years and died. If you do the math, that's 180 years, right? So you subtract 180 years from 2011, because that's the year that we're in right now, and you will get 1831. Now, I actually had to do the math a couple times. Like, I knew the math was right, but it was kind of like, damn, 1831? Like, shit, I can trace back my direct bloodline, meaning my bloodline that I'm familiar with, that I know, back to the 1800s. Like, fuck, And that's gonna bring me to another part of this conversation. But basically, I can trace them back to the 1800s, 1831. I can trace my direct bloodline as far as what I personally know, not including those that was before that I didn't know. Now, if you look at when the Civil War started 1861 to 1865. So anybody who can count, anybody with some rational thinking, yo, my great grandmother was a slave. My great grandmother was around before the Civil War started, you understand? So she was a slave when all this took place. And it opened my mind up to a lot of things. I'm not going to sit here and say I got on some black self-righteous, black power shit, hey, let's stop gangbanging, let's all get along kind of shit, but it just opened up my mind, opened up my third eye, like, fuck, that's some deep shit. And then as I went into the conversation with the white people, when they talk that go back to Africa, black people shouldn't be here kind of shit, I'm like, hey, y'all should go back to Europe then. Like I said, I can trace back my roots to the 18th century. Hey, where was you at? I'm pretty sure if it wasn't your grandfather, your great-grandfather came from Europe somewhere. Ireland, Russia, Poland, Greece, Italy, somewhere. They came from Europe at some... Oh, for one, to even begin the conversation, all white people came from Europe at the beginning. At some point, they all came from Europe. But to get more personal and get more in-depth, within 3 generations, I'm pretty sure your great-grandfather came from Europe. So that means you wasn't even born here. Your people didn't even... I was already here. My grandmother was here. She was a slave already. My great-grandmother was here. You understand? Like, hey. And onto another part of this conversation, like, I remember coming up, I can't say I knew my great-grandmother to the personal level to say that she didn't like white people. But I knew my grandmother didn't like white people, straight up. Like, she worked with white people. She had white friends and everything, but she disliked white people, straight up. And she passed it down to my mother. My mother had white friends, and all. My mother still hung out with white people, conducted business with white people. But she always had a slight dislike for white people. Then as I got older, I have nothing against white people. White, black, brown, white, yellow, I don't care. You respect me, I respect yours. You disrespect me, I'm gonna disrespect you. So I don't have no distaste for them. But in general, like I said, once again, it opened my mind, or opened my third eye to just like, okay, now I see where this more so come from. Like I knew, I remember my grandmother telling me stories and stuff how like my older uncles and stuff like that. Supposedly a couple of them had got killed by the KKK down south. One of my great uncles and so forth went into the woods one day and just never came back. Another one got hit by a car by a white man, and he just kept going like, hey, fuck that nigga. So I knew of these tragedies basically that took place, but it didn't affect me personally as far as my feelings. I became a man anyway. As I became an adult, it didn't affect my relationship with white people. When I was young, I ain't gonna lie, I had a little, not necessarily distaste, but distrust for white people just because of the household I came from. So, like I said, the social workers was white. At that time, most of the teachers was white. So it was a little distrustful. Like, you fucking cracker. What the hell? What you doing in our black hood? Get the fuck out of here. Go back to Crackerville. But as I got older and became a man, I pushed that shit to the side, the race issue. But to come back on topic, when they talk that back to Africa or, get over slavery, okay. If you want me to get over slavery, I want your mother, I want your kids, hell, even your father. Maybe I want your grandfather and your grandmother. And I want to be able to brutally rape them. Basically, making a long story short, without getting into depth and extra details, because of course I can't record but so long on this thing, so it go get on YouTube. But I want to be able to basically do whatever I want to. I want to be able to. I don't even need a couple hundred years. The slavery went up for hundreds of years. I don't even need a couple hundred years. Give me 60 years with them. Not even 60. Give me 2 years with them, and I want to be able to do whatever I want. Chop limbs off, rape them, fuck them in their ass. All that. You feel me? I'm gonna do whatever I want to for the next 2 years. And then I want to tell you, hey, son, get over it. We cool now. Don't worry. That was 2 years ago I did that to them. Don't worry. So what? I fucked your sister in the ass with a hot poker iron. Don't worry about that. So what? I chopped your son both his hands off kind of shit. Had him picking cotton with his feet. Don't worry about it. Get over it. Let me see how you feel about it. Let me see if you can just get over it and just let it be by. And we just buddy. It's all cool. Let's all be friends type shit. Nah, it don't go down like that. And that comes to another topic. I'm talking about black homosexuality, but I'm gonna cut this short so I can hopefully get this on YouTube, and then I'm gonna do another blog behind this on black homosexuality.